We were taught that the Mediterranean was a Roman lake, but for 500 years before a Roman soldier ever set foot in Africa, the sea belonged to someone else. They were the Tyrian silver merchants, the masters of the purple dye, and the greatest shipbuilders the ancient world had ever seen. A city of merchants, sailors, admirals, and silver. A city so wealthy and powerful that Rome would fight 3 total wars just to destroy it. This is the story of Carthage, how a Phoenician colony became the dominant maritime empire of the Western Mediterranean. To understand Carthage, we have to begin not in Africa, but in the Levant. Carthage did not emerge from nothing. It was founded by the Phoenicians, master traders and shipbuilders from the eastern Mediterranean. Their greatest city was Tyre, located in modern-day Lebanon. The Phoenicians were not conquerors in the traditional sense. They were connectors. They built a network of trading posts stretching from the Levant to Cyprus to North Africa to Iberia. They sailed beyond the Strait of Gibraltar. They traded for silver in Spain, tin from Britain, and gold from Africa. By the 9th century BCE, Phoenician expansion westward intensified, and around 914 BCE, according to later tradition, new city Qart-hadasht or Carthage was founded. Roman sources tell us it was established by Queen Dido fleeing political turmoil in Tyre. She landed in modern Tunisia and made a deal for only as much land as an ox hide could cover. She sliced the hide into thin strips to encircle an entire hill, the Birsa. Whether legend or fact, one thing is certain: Carthage began as a Phoenician outpost. But it would become far more than that. Carthage's location was perfect. Situated in modern Tunisia, it occupied a strategic position in the central Mediterranean. It controlled the narrow sea routes between east and west, between Sicily and North Africa, between Italy and Iberia. It possessed a naturally defensible peninsula, fertile agricultural land, and excellent harbors. Those would become legendary. Carthage developed a massive dual port system, one commercial for trade, one circular military harbor, a secret naval complex capable of housing hundreds of warships. Ships could be built, repaired, and launched quickly. Unlike the Greeks or Etruscans, who built ships one by one, the Carthaginians invented a mass production. They marked their timbers with letters and numbers, like IKEA furniture, so they could assemble a warship in days. This wasn't just a port city, it was a naval machine. As Phoenician cities in the east fell under Assyrian, Babylonian, and later Persian domination, Carthage grew more independent. By the 6th century BCE, Carthage was no longer a colony, it was the new center of Phoenician power. Carthage's rise was not built on legions, it was built on ships. Their navy became the most powerful in the western Mediterranean. Their ships, biremes, and later triremes, were fast, maneuverable, and deadly. Carthaginian naval tactics emphasized ramming enemy vessels with speed and flanking maneuvers, coordinated squadron tactics. But naval power alone was not enough. Carthage built an empire through trade and strategic control. They dominated Sardinia, Corsica, parts of Sicily, the North African coast, and southern Iberia. Their merchants established trade monopolies. Greek ships entering western waters often found Carthaginian fleets waiting. One of the defining early moments of Carthaginian power came in 540 BCE, the Battle of Alalia. There, Carthage allied with the Etruscans to crush Greek expansion near Corsica. The result? Greek colonization in the western Mediterranean was checked. Carthage now stood as the dominant naval force of the region. the western Mediterranean became, in many ways, a Carthaginian lake. Naval dominance fueled something even more important: wealth. Carthage controlled trade routes that moved silver from Iberian mines, grain from North Africa, and timber, slaves, textiles, and luxury goods. Southern Spain, especially around modern Cartagena, became a Carthaginian economic powerhouse. The silver mines there financed fleets, armies, and mercenaries. Because here is a key difference between Carthage and Rome. Carthage relied heavily on mercenary soldiers: Libyans, Numidians, Iberians, and Gauls. Carthaginian citizens typically did not form the bulk of the infantry. Instead, Carthage used its immense wealth to hire the best fighters available. It was a commercial empire funding a military machine, and it worked for centuries. Unlike Rome's later republic or Greek democracies, Carthage was an oligarchy. Power rested with wealthy merchant families. Two chief magistrates, called Sephites, were elected annually. There was a senate, and powerful councils made decisions on war, trade, and diplomacy. Greek philosopher Aristotle even admired Carthage's constitution, comparing it favorably to Sparta and Rome. It was stable, flexible, and highly effective at balancing elite interests. This political stability allowed Carthage to focus outward on trade, naval expansion, and on empire. Carthaginian ambition went beyond the Mediterranean. One famous expedition, led by Hanno the Navigator, sailed down the western African coast, possibly as far as modern Senegal, maybe even beyond. Another explorer, Himilco, may have sailed towards the Atlantic coasts of Iberia and possibly Britain. Carthage guarded trade secrets carefully. Routes were hidden, maps were not shared. They understood something critical: information was power, and the control of the sea meant control of the economy. By the 4th and early 3rd centuries BCE, Carthage stood at its peak. It controlled vast territories in North Africa, dominated western Mediterranean trade, maintained the strongest navy in the region, and stood as the chief rival to Greek powers in Sicily. But on the horizon, a new power was rising: a land-based republic from central Italy, a state that had mastered warfare on land and was about to learn warfare at sea: Rome. For centuries, Carthage had ruled the waves unchallenged. Now it would face an enemy unlike any before, an enemy that would not be satisfied with trade dominance, an enemy that wanted total control. Carthage was not a barbarian kingdom. It was not a pirate confederation. It was a sophisticated maritime empire, built by Phoenician sailors, funded by silver, protected by the most powerful navy of its age. It reshaped trade, challenged Greek expansion, and dominated the western Mediterranean for centuries. Before Rome became an empire of land, Carthage was already an empire of the sea, and soon the two would collide in one of the greatest struggles of the ancient world, the Punic Wars. But that is for another video. This was the Knights of the Steppe. Thank you for watching.